EHAS Club presents Stories to Create podcast, where the tale of our guest takes you back, way back to where the story first got created. Now, to help create this new story, here is your host, Cornell Bunting.
Yes. Welcome to another episode of Stories to Create podcast right here at EHAS Club. Today, so let me go back before I touch on today and how today is going to unfold with the show. This past week, my doctor found out that one of my medication that I'm on for my heart, it's not working. It have developed some things that is not good for me health-wise. And so they had to remove it immediately and get me on a new medication. Still, that would help to develop the heart again, get me back healthy, what that looked like. And so with that, I had to spend about 3 days in the hospital. And so, confirming with my guest for the show was somewhat of a challenge. And so with that, I had to reach out to an individual for the show last minute. And then, sometime last minute don't really go the way you're hoping. And so that's one of the reasons why you won't be hearing an individual on the show today. But nevertheless, we still have an exciting show. Today, there's a few things I want to touch on when it comes to two things I'm going to touch on. So, and, I had to learn a lot of this stuff myself, I'm a big fan of music. And so with that, I wanted to touch on some of the most anticipating music, that people have gone out their way to make sure they have that album, and so in the show today, I want to highlight 8 artists that have tapped the Billboard chart with 10 different albums. And so we're going to touch on that, but then also we're going to touch on 10 things you did not know about yourself. Oh my goodness. This is serious. Because I thought I knew some of these things. Nope. And hey, listen, don't say you knew some of this stuff when you didn't really know. So you're going to learn today on the show some stuff. So where you feel we should start today? Let me see. Where do we want to start? Should we talk about the 10 things you didn't know about yourself first? Or should we touch on the Billboard stuff first? I think I know what it is. Let's start with 10 things that you didn't know about yourself today. See, now you got to wait for the end. It's a beautiful thing. So this is how I want to tap into that right there, because, this is really a huge thing. And I think it's really important when you understand who you are, the functionality of the body you're in, and all those things. And then, when you look back and see a lot of how individuals over time have done their research, what that looked like to discover certain findings that would help individuals function, better on this earth, and, understanding that there are, a few things in life that are challenging, and it's more challenging when you're not aware of what that is. So, if you guys have followed me enough where you've listened or read some of the books that I've written so far and put out, you'll understand, I do share some of my own discoveries as well, and what have worked for me and what have not worked for me, especially in my self-help book, Escaping the Darkness, Using Adversity to Find Purpose, where I talk a little bit on my dark times when I was in jail, and then 10 things that I use to find purpose, and how I went through those times, those hard times where I was really going through it. But if you want to know, more about that, you can always go on Amazon and purchase a copy of that book. And by the way, it was number one for a little bit. So, so let's tap in a little bit on what this looks like. And so so we're going to touch on number 10, because remember we touching on 10. So at 10, did you know your stomach is smaller than you think? Yep. I know a lot of us be functioning like we got a large stomach, but no. You got a small stomach. Your stomach have more nutrients than many animals have in their actual brain. And it's a connection of neutrons that is so complex that some call it a second brain for humans. While other body parts, like the palm of your hand, for instance, or, what that look like with you having high levels of neutrons, your stomach is unique in that it can effectively think for itself. Isn't that crazy? Meaning that you can digest food without having to think about it. That's crazy. That is just crazy. Just imagine, because it's just consuming. This is going wild. And I'm sure you guys have found yourself unable to concentrate after an enormous meal, right? And chances are your stomach is partly to be blamed. I think it's, as you can see, it's very important for us to eat wise, because when you don't eat wise, it shows. And, you can get uncomfortable, you can get, overweight, where, just the weight is just unappealing. Number 9. This one might blow you guys' mind a little bit. You are as hairy as a chimp. What? Yep. You are very hairy, You are indeed as hairy as most other primates. Just like chimps, we have hair all over our bodies. Only it's much finer and shorter than that of our furry cousin. That's crazy. Just imagine you have hair on every square inch of your body. We have an average of 500 to 1,000 hair follicles. That's serious right there, people. We got a lot of hair, and for some of you guys that's maybe been in biology or whatever, they always, like, when you're in that class or whatever, there are those things when you have done research. A lot of times, individuals that know you have done that would say to you, you have done one of the hardest things, where you've kind of did certain research on things that maybe made you feel uncomfortable or whatever that looked like. But yeah, this right here, I tell you, I didn't know this, but I know this. This is serious. Okay, here's another one, and this is number 8. Did you know that you're a miracle? I'm sure a lot of you guys know that you're a miracle. I mean, who wouldn't think? Like, you can't just, I don't know, how you gonna make this up? Like, how you come into existence, what that look like? There's so much to it. There is so much to it, and I gotta tell you guys, this is a beautiful thing. If I was to say to you, all humans start as ours, it's just that some remain as ours for their whole lives. So we're miracles. We are miracles. Now, I'm going to hit you with another one that you might agree or you might not agree. But at number 7, I want to let you guys know you are part virus. Yep. Yeah. You are part virus. I'm telling you. And when you look at different research, different individuals that have done research to understand how much of our DNA has been contributed by virus. Virus can't reproduce on their own. So some virus have to insert their DNA into a host cell in order to be copied. Understand that if the virus insert itself into a sperm or egg cell, then the result offspring may carry the virus DNA in every one of its cells. And this has happened so often in human evolution that no less than 9% of our genome is directly derived from virus. Wow. Here's one that I didn't really know because I thought I could do this. But you can tickle yourself. You cannot tickle yourself. I want you to understand that. Tickling is taught to be a key part of human bonding, especially between, your children and yourself. And if you think about it, when we grow up, we may come to dislike being tickled. But understand that most people never overcome the nervous twitching and laughing that comes with another person touching them in certain way, the arm, the foot bottom, there's different areas where individuals can touch you and it tickles. But you You, my friend, cannot tickle yourself. If you can tickle yourself, I need you to reach out to me on my show and let me know that you have tickled yourself and I have not really discovered something. Okay. At number 5, did you know your body is younger than you are? What? What? Yep. Mm-hmm. Your body is younger than you are. You know, you are changing all the time. You inhale, you exhale, you eat, you exert, you take molecules, right? Let's say that, and expel others constantly. Like, let's say you are over the age of puberty. Then it's likely that not a single part of your body ever belonged to your baby self. I can see that. And that will definitely lead to an interesting problem, right? Still hotly debate by, I want to say, philosophers, right? If every part of you is different today, are you still the same person you were at birth? You should ask yourself that question. I'm actually going to ask myself that question. You never know. If you get lucky, I might have an answer for you on my next show. Okay. This one right here is kind of crazy. And number 4, did you know you are partially blind? What? Yes. Unfortunately, your eyes have a design flaw. Both of them have a blind spot. The blind spot is large enough to cause problem for those who lose sight in one eye. Yep. Thankfully for most of us, the fact that we have 2 eyes mean that the blind spot goes unnoticed. And I can attest to that. I definitely can attest to that. If I was to touch on what a lot of this other moving stuff look like. And I think it's really based more on study that would help you to understand that that's what's going on. Okay. Now you know that you are partially blind. We got that out the way. Let's go to number 3. Did you know you can count without counting? What? Oh, definitely. You can count without counting. It's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. You don't need to count on your fingers or whatever. You have instinctive gaps of the number of whatever it is. Just always remember that now. It's a beautiful thing. There's quite a bit there that you might want to unpack yourself just to see, Cornell. I don't know if I agree with what you're saying, but yeah, let that process for a little bit while we go into number 2 here and let you know that you may have no free will. What? You may have no free will? How we come up with this? How we come up? Because, they tell you have free will. But, it's very violent debate. You are free to make your own decision, or your decision shape force beyond your control. And many can argument that you have been put forward on both sides of the debate. But here, I want to touch on, what this stuff looks like. And so, this one, I gotta vibe with this one for a little bit. I gotta vibe with this one for a little bit. I don't know about this one right here. Yeah, I gotta vibe with this one for a little bit. Okay, last one. Did you know you have stripes? Yep. Many mammals have stripes. Cat have very clear stripes or patches, which develop as certain cells start expressing different gene. Yep. This is wild, my friend. This is wild. That is some pretty cool findings right there, I gotta say. And I think maybe I'll bring someone back in the show and we can argue about some of these stuff. Yes, we definitely will, because there is some interesting stuff to talk about. And I know there's a lot of individual out there that I could say is smarter than me. So we're gonna tap into that. We're gonna tap into that a little bit. Now, let's jump in to this big bad finance that only 8 artists have topped the Billboard chart with 10 different albums. Boom. And you guys might know of some, I'm not even going to say you guys might know. Of course you guys know who they are. Okay. What I will say, since Billboard have launched in 1956, right? Which, the Billboard 200 has tracked best-selling albums in the state, because the state is pretty big. And so it's quite impressive, to see how some of these individuals have caught the attentions of millions of people, especially with several different albums. That in itself is beautiful. That just means you are creative in a way where people love your creativity and have been repeat customers for you, and we have a lot of artists. We have artists for days, people. But only a handful of artists have crossed into double digits when it comes to number ones, including, and I'm sure you guys already know this is possibly going to include modern superstars like Taylor Swift and Jake. So we're going to we're going to dive into this somewhat of an ascending order, okay? We're going to go in an ascending order. Our first artist with 10 albums. 10? 10? What? We're going to start off with Eminem. The Marshall Mathers LP. that actually sold over 1 million copies in its debut week when it was released in 2000. That was huge. That was huge. I mean, everyone was crazy about Eminem when he came out, and that was easily earning a number one spot, and of course a debut on the Billboard 200, and 2 decades later, Music to Be, Murdered By also debuted at number one, becoming Eminem historic 10 chart topper. Huge, people. Huge. It's your boy right there. Eminem you've gotten a lot of people's attention, and they've come to like his music. I like a lot of his music. He's very crafty with his words and how he dropped bars. He dropped some beautiful bars, people. And if you go back and listen to some of just the way he's sounding a lot of his stuff, and some would say some of the stuff is crazy, but listen, you got to mix it up. You got to show how diverse you are. All right. Coming in, our next artist. And a lot of you guys, have maybe voiced your opinion and say he's crazy and all these things, but he is who he is. And I'm talking about none other than Mr. Kanye West, people. Mr. Kanye West, who people know as Ye, who still release music under the name Kanye West, topped the Billboard 200 chart for the first time in 2005 with his late registration. Late registration was huge. Huge, people. He has 11 consecutive number ones. That's dope. That's dope right there. My dude. And if you want to know what all those 11 number ones are, you can just punch in Kanye West, and I'm sure it's gonna come up showing you what those look like. It's huge. And then for a lot of you older school, maybe the Gen Z, the boomer group. What do you call you guys? The Boomerang or the Boom Group? Whichever one. You guys know this artist right here because he has 11 number ones. And he is no other than Mr. Bruce Springsteen, people. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He has 11 chart-tapping albums span over 3 decades, people, from 1980s, The River, to 2014, High Hopes. That's your dude right there. Big deal. I mean, there's a lot of people that just love Bruce Springsteen. I remember one year I had friends who was like, you should rock the Bruce Springsteen look, we had like an Halloween event and they're like, you should, so I'm like, okay, see what he looked like. He was a cool dude. He was a cool dude, people. All right. We're going to dive in another artist that has also 11. It's a female. And, it's for you, a lot of you boom group as well. And, Gen Z and not Gen Z. I'm saying the wrong gen. Not Gen Z. It's my apologies, Gen Z. I don't know why you guys are on my lips right now, but it's for the older crowd. The generation before the millennial. I think it's the Boomerang. I don't know if it's the Boomerang. I don't know why I'm even saying Boomerang right now, but the Boom Group. Yeah. The Boom Group. Her name is Barbara Streisand. Yes. She logged her first number one entry on Billboard 200 with people back in 1964, people. Yep. 51 years later, she set a record for the longest span between number ones when Encore, movie partners sing Broadway, her 2016 studio album topped the chart, people. That's dope right there. And Tryson have previously had the most number one album among female artists until you know her, because she's this era crowd right now. She's, a lot of the younger crowd loves her, because she's killing it. Until Taylor Swift broke a record in 2023. Taylor Swift did, people. We're not going to go into Taylor Swift yet. We're going to go into your boy, though, that a lot of you guys go crazy for, which the younger crowd as well, you guys, Gen X, the millennial, the Gen Z. This is you guys' boy right here. Mr. Drake. Yes. Mr. Drake have racked up 13 number one albums in the same number of years from 2010. Of course, you guys know that album, Thank Me Later, to 2023 for All the Dogs. Yes. His grand total also include that one mixtape, Care Package. Also, those two collaborative albums, What a Time to Be Alive. And of course, that is with Future and then Her Loss with 21 Savage. Those are pretty dope albums, And I gotta say, that album that he has, what is it called? I think it was called More Life. Yep. That's your dude, man. Sir Drake. Racking up 13 over there. And then we come to your girl. Everyone's favorite female singer. One of everyone's favorite female singer. Mrs. Taylor Swift with 13. Taylor Swift has only released one album that didn't top the chart, her self-titled debut, which peaked at number 5 in 2008. She earned her first number one later that same year with Fearless, which has since been ranked the 4th biggest album on Billboard 200 history. And if you follow her, you'll see most recently 1989, which is, her version, launched atop the chart with Swift's biggest sale week to date. It marked her 13th number one album, extending her record for the most among women. And I got to tell you that, the 1989 Taylor's version logged its 5th week on top. She broke Elvis Presley record for the most week at number one on the Billboard 200 among all solo artists. That's dope. That is dope. And then we got to go to your boy, man. A lot of you guys love him. A lot of you guys hate him. A lot of you guys say he's not that rapper. But when you listen to his flow, you listen to his bars, I'm telling you, people, he is that rapper. Mr. Jay-Z got 14. He got 14 number one albums, people. And he began collecting number one in 98. 98 with his third studio album, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. Oh, I was a big fan. That was like my album, right? I had that album, people. I used to play that album almost every day when I was going to work. I had to play at least one track off the album. It was just that dope, you know? And in 2017, he extended his total to 14 with 444. 444 was dope, man. It had 444 was like an art form of how someone put music in a way that really showed the poetic side of an artist that can create art in a way that you can tell what's happening at the time it's happening. And it's beautiful. You know, Jay-Z is also one of the most awarded artists in Grammy history. This dude has 24 Grammys, people. 24. That's serious. That is serious right there. Now we got to come to who has the most number one. And right now, guys, I got to tell you, this is big. It's a group. Of course you guys know the group. You know, a bunch of British dudes. They did it huge, people. Yep. I'm going to let you guys stop wondering who I'm talking about or what band I'm talking about. You got to know the Beatles, people. The Beatles, they have 19. The Beatles hold both Billboard records for the most number one songs and the most number one albums. You got to understand that group include classics like Revolver. That was in 1966. Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band, 1967. Abbey's Road in 1969. And the post-breakup compilation, One, in 2000. You got to understand, and you know, I think a lot would give Paul McCartney that title as the lead for that group. He was that dude. And Paul McCartney even had a solo career, and he has topped the chart 8 more times. And then, you know, of course, John Lennon managed to get featured twice before he died in 1980, which no one told us that he had died. Like, they kept it a secret, people. They didn't want no one to know he had passed. We might have found out maybe 2 weeks later that something had unfolded with one of the members of the mass favorite group. So there you have it, people. There you have it. We have touched on 10 things you didn't know about yourself, and we have touched on the 8 artists who have topped the Billboard chart with 10 different albums. Yep. You heard it right here on Stories to Create podcast. Right here at EOS Club. We rolling in. We was fun. It was fun. I had fun. I hope you had fun. And with that, we going to wrap up the show, and I'm going to tell you guys until our next episode, the Stories to Create podcast right here, where we'll have a guest. We definitely will have a guest that will be conversating on maybe some of the stuff that we just touched on today, or you'll be hearing their story in a unique way. It's a beautiful thing. Until then, you enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. And definitely, after you listen to the show, go tell a friend. That will have them go tell their friend. And then their friend could go tell their friend, which I'm sure their friend has friends. Yes, right here.
Well, there you have it. The host came, the guest came, and the story was created. Thank you to our sponsors, EHAS Inc., Karis Capital, and the Cornell Bunting LLC brand. Go check out the books, courses, and materials at www.cornellbunting.com. Thank you again for listening to the show. Check back again to hear another tale from another unique guest right here at EHAS Club.